Hello, everyone. For this afternoon, we will be discussing the introduction for quality control. So this subject is QC1. Um, we will be discussing how the pharmaceutical products are being manufactured with good quality and how do we ensure that they are really of good quality. So that's for QC1. Meron pa tayong QC2 next semester in continuation only. So let's start. QC1 is, or quality control 1 is also known as quantitative chemistry, or we can also call this analytical chemistry or pharmaceutical chemistry. So I believe you had a lot of chemistry subjects back when you were in first year and also during your second year. But this is another actually branch of chemistry. So you had your farm in org, you had your organic chemistry, you dealt with carbon there, and then you had your biochemistry wherein you discussed about the macromolecules that are very essential for life. But for this subject, this branch of chemistry, we will be dealing with most likely the composition of matter. So for example, we have pharmaceutical products and we will be identifying what are the components, what is in there, and how much is present for each component that is present in that certain product. So that is analytical chemistry or pharmaceutical chemistry for you. So in this subject, yung topic natin magre-revolve around assaying our drug. Actually, if we do sampling, and especially if the sample is a drug, that's the time we call it assay. Kasi if this is purely analytical chemistry, then we just do analysis of like chemical products. If it is not a drug substance, it's just a simple chemical or a simple compound in the laboratory, we'll just call it analysis or investigation. But this time, if makarinig kayo ng if marinig nyo yung term na assay, always remember that it refers to the analysis of pharmaceutical products, especially our drug products. Now, this subject is divided into two. We have qualitative, this is why we call it qualitative quantitative chemistry. Kasi dalawang division tayo, we have qualitative and then quantitative. For qualitative, this deals with the identification of the composition of our pharmaceutical products. So like when I give you a tablet, and then you will be asked to do an assay to that certain tablet, then what you're going to do is actually to identify the different components present in that certain pharmaceutical product. So that is qualitative only because you will just you will just determine the identity of those components. So if it is not about the component, then qualitative chemistry can also deal with the identification of contaminants. So pwede din yon kasi we have to ensure, since we are talking about quality, we have to ensure that our pharmaceutical products are safe, devoid of any unnecessary chemical substances that may that may have harmful effects sa body. So again, in qualitative chemistry or sa QC, we have to identify whether impurities are present in our products. So this division of QC1 deals with or focuses in answering the question, what is present in a given sample. So what are the examples of the assay that we do in this division? Last time, I think that is yung batch pa nila Ma'am Cherry, no? They had their research that dealt with the identification of heavy metals present in cosmetics. So if it is just purely identification, no numbers involved, like we don't really identify kung gaano karami, as long as we can identify yung mga heavy metals sa pharmaceutical product natin, under pa yan siya sa qualitative chemistry. Again, we will just identify what is or what are present in our given sample. But for the second division, for quantitative chemistry, ito naman yung kailangan talaga natin malaman how much is present in our sample. So for example, we have identified that a certain lipstick really contains lead. So yun, quali yun kasi na-identify lang natin na ito yung kanyang component. But if you are asked kung gaano karaming lead yung present sa pharmaceutical product na yun or sa cosmetic product na yun, then that will be under quantitative chemistry. Okay, so again, for quantitative chemistry, we would like to answer the question, how much is present in our sample? Okay, so that's the two division of our QC1 or analytical chemistry. Actually, yung medtech meron silang analytical chemistry ngayon. Ang sa inyo, this is still analytical chemistry, but we will not really go back to the basics. I mean, basic of the Anachem, but we will directly apply the concept of analytical chemistry to pharmacy. So thus, we have now the so-called quantitative pharmaceutical chemistry. So that's again the application of analytical chemistry to our field. So what are the purpose or what are the objectives of quantitative pharmaceutical chemistry? Number one, ginagamit natin itong field na ito to analyze and determine the purity and quality of our drugs and other chemicals na ginagamit in pharmacy, especially those that are official in our USBNF or United States Pharmacopeia National Formulary. So remember, when we are doing or we are formulating or making a certain pharmaceutical product, it will start syempre with raw materials. Now, these raw materials syempre have their own identity and they have their own standard. So again, set by, for example, the USP&F. Now, before proceeding with the manufacturing, we have to ensure first that these raw materials are safe, good yung kanyang quality, and syempre very pure. As much as possible, 99, most likely 99% na pure. So like for example, pag sinabi mong sodium chloride lang talaga siya. Wala siyang ibang contaminants. Yan yung ini-ensure natin when we do QC testing for our pharmaceutical products. So yun yung sa mga raw materials. But actually, we also do assay of our in-process products because we have to make sure also that along the way, as we formulate the drug, of good quality pa rin siya, walang contaminants na nahalo during the process, walang mga certain harmful na mga reactions between those raw materials that will hamper the activity of the drug. So yun yung ginagawa natin sa QC1. So actually, QC1 is partnered always in collaboration with the manufacturing pharmacy. You will actually experience this one if you will have your manufacturing pharmacy internship in the different manufacturing labs natin here in the Philippines. When you go to these laboratories, you will see that one division inside the laboratory is the QC lab. Meron sila doong QC area. So that is where they test the raw materials and they also do in-process and finished product testing. So isang area lang yun siya aside from the production area, aside from the microbiome area, wherein they also ensure that the pharmaceuticals are devoid of microbial na contaminants. Ito yung purely sa chemicals tayo na pure talaga, walang contaminants and of good quality. Now, other purpose of the quantitative pharmaceutical chemistry is the analysis of the chemical constituents found in the human body whose altered concentrations during disease states serve as diagnostic aids in the practice of medicine. So actually, it's not that we purely assay our drug, pero we can also do QC testings or laboratory procedures involving chemicals found in our body. So we can either do qualitative testing wherein we identify whether a certain chemical substance is present in the body or not. Or in most cases, we do quantitative testing wherein we really quantify how much of that certain compound or chemical substance is present in the body. Remember, we have a lot of chemicals in the body and that meron silang mga normal levels. So quantitative na yon kasi we are talking about numbers. Now, if these levels either increase or decrease, syempre meron yun siyang corresponding na interpretation wherein ginagamit din natin siya for diagnosis of certain conditions. Okay, so pwede natin yan. As we go on along the way, you will get to know what are the QC testings that we do for both our pharmaceutical products and also chemical substances that are essential for life. And then we also do analysis of medicinal agents and their metabolites found in biological systems. So itong mga gamot natin, for example, if like they are being administered to a human body, we don't actually stop there. We follow what happened to our drug inside, and that we do qualitative testing wherein we identify the chemical substance na naging metabolite siya nung original drug. Kasi remember, when we take a certain drug product, nagme-metabolism siya, especially in the liver. So magkakaroon ng bagong chemical substance inside. So ina-analyze natin yan kung ano yun siya, ano yung chemical property ng metabolite na yun. Meron ba siyang activity pa rin sa body or wala na siyang activity and diretso na ba siya i-excrete from the body. So yun, isa yan siya sa gamit ng QC. Okay? So kanina pa ako nagme-mention ng quality. Pag sinabing quality, totality of characteristics or features of a product that bears on its capacity to satisfy stated or implied needs. So meaning, since this is quality control, we are ensuring that our drug products, our pharmaceutical products, lahat-lahat na ng characteristics niya can satisfy the needs of our patients or our clients. Yan lang yung gusto natin. mabigay natin yung certain activity kung para sa certain condition din, and that the patient will also be safe when they take our pharmaceutical products. Now, when you go to manufacturing pharmacy laboratories, you will always hear the two: quality assurance and quality control. Actually, as I have mentioned, merong area in the manufacturing laboratory na QC area, but actually meron din siyang QA area. Minsan isa lang sila, may division lang. Dito yung isang part ng QA, and then isang part yung QC. I mean isang buong room sila. Okay, i-identify lang saan part yung QA, saan yung QC. Actually, they are largely interdependent, but they are often used interchangeably. Minsan, nababaliktad yung paggamit ng term na quality assurance and also with quality control. So, yun yung i-clarify natin kasi they have different meaning at the same time purpose. Okay? So the quality assurance is the sum total of all the things that we are going to do to make sure that our products are of good quality and that these products will satisfy either the implied needs or the stated needs of our syempre clients. But for the drug product, it will be starting from the planning stage, the preparation stage up to the finished product na stage na. So lahat-lahat ng gagawin doon will be under the quality assurance. So again, the goal is to produce the product na consistently of the quality required by the intended use. Therefore, quality assurance is process-based approach kasi this one is concerned sa lahat-lahat ng proseso na pagdadaanan ng pharmaceutical product natin before siya i-out sa market. In the manufacturing laboratory, we have just like what I said a while ago, meron tayong quality assurance department or area. Medyo marami lang paperworks dito if you will be assigned in this area because again, this is a process-based approach. So this is done before starting a project. All the planning, all the processes involved dito. Responsibility ng quality assurance team. So this one is proactive or preventive process to avoid defects. So we will be planning how to manufacture the product, and during the planning, we have to see to it that merong mga preventive measures na nagagawin to avoid contamination or degradation of the product or to avoid any defect that will happen to our pharmaceutical products. Now, on the other hand, when you say quality control, this is actually a part of the so-called good manufacturing practices. Or I don't know if you are familiar with this, but sa Manuf, meron tayong tinatawag, di ba, na CGMP, Current Good Manufacturing Practices. These practices are being set by the Food and Drug Administration, and that all the establishments from the manufacturing establishments up to even the drugstores should follow these practices. So again, the quality control is concerned with the sampling, the testing, analysis, specifications, and even organization of the documents pertaining to the manufacture of the product and also including the release procedures. So yung kaibahan nila with the quality assurance is this one is product-based approach. Yung kanina, 'di ba, quality assurance process-based. So ang quality assurance team will draft the standard operating procedure. Magda-draft sila ng lahat ng processes na kailangan pagdaanan ng product before siya mabuo. So included na doon yung pag-ensure na maa-avoid ang defects. But pag quality control kasi, our focus here is the product talaga. Therefore, quality control begins once the product is being manufactured. Yung quality assurance kanina, hindi pa nagsa-start ang paggawa ng product, nag-start na yung quality assurance. So, yung sa mga machines na gagamitin, raw materials, ayun, i-ensure na yun ni quality assurance na masunod lahat ng process. Na pag mag-manufacture na tayo ng product, once na mag-start yan siya, quality control will also start. But actually, main goal nila is to again deliver a product that has a good quality and that magsasatisfy ng needs ng ating customers. So, yan yung sinasabi na QA and QC are two different things, but a lot of times they are being used interchangeably. So yun lang yung tandaan nyo, quality assurance is more on the process and quality control is focused on the product. Now, let's go back to the area in the manufacturing manufacturing laboratory na tinatawag nating QA department. Ano yung kanilang function, ano yung kanilang responsibilities. Now, for the QA, they assure policies are followed inept to economic issues associated with manufacturing and distribution of the product. So, kaya sinabi ko kanina, di ba, process-based approach sila. So, they will be drafting the standard operating procedure in the company and they have to make sure that this procedures, these protocols or policies are being followed by everyone inside the firm para ma-prevent yung hindi natin gusto na mga pangyayari like magkakaroon ng defect yung product or magiging harmful na siya sa person or sa environment. And then it is also the responsibility of the QA department to coordinate with regulatory agencies. So in the Philippines, syempre you know that the Food and Drug Administration and the Department of Health, to yung mga legal agencies natin, government agencies na nagre-regulate ng production ng ating pharmaceutical products. And sila yung may final say, syempre, whether to accept or reject that certain product. They will give the certification para malabas siya sa market. Okay? And then, another thing, QA also helps to identify and prepare necessary SOPs relative to control of quality. Anyway, I have mentioned that a while ago. They are responsible in preparing the standard operating procedure to be followed by everyone in the manufacture of pharmaceutical products para nga good yung quality. And then QA also is responsible for audit and quality monitoring. So it's not just about the product, but the operation, overall operation. So from the start, lahat ng process, lahat ng mga equipment na gagamitin, like for example, tableting machine, it's actually the work of the quality assurance to provide procedures on how to maintain those machine or equipment para tuloy-tuloy din ang production and of good quality din ang product na mabuo. Okay? Or na magawa. Okay? Now, how about the QC department in the manufacturing firm? Anong ginagawa ng department na ito? They are responsible for the testing. Take note of the word testing kasi ito talaga yung ginagawa ng QC department. They will test the raw materials, they will test the in-process na mga products, and even the final or the finished products, whether these products fit in the standard set by, for example, the United States Pharmacopeia kasi yan naman yung fina-follow talaga natin when it comes to standards and specification. But aside from that, aside from testing the materials, whether they are of good quality, the QC department also monitors the environmental condition. Hindi pa kasi kayo nakatry, or I don't know with the others, but yung hindi pa nakatry pumasok sa manufacturing firm, actually malamig yan siya masyado doon. Okay? Kasi they really have to keep the environment na malamig kasi high temperature can destroy or can damage most of the raw materials or even our pharmaceutical products. So meron talaga yan siyang thermometer, environmental na thermometer, and meron ding what do you call that, the one that measures the moisture in the air. Kasali yon. Kasi sa Philippines, we belong to zone 4, and when you say zone 4 yung sa climate nga, sa Philippines, ano tayo dito, hot and humid. So merong moisture ang ating air, and remember that pag may tubig, that will be prone to bacterial contamination. So kailangan din siyang i-monitor aside from the temperature. So I can still remember when I had my manufacturing internship sa Manila, bugnaw gid kayo siya, and then we are not allowed to wear jacket or cardigan kasi bawal yan siya sa loob. Ano lang talaga, lab gown. So yung mga trabahante doon, syempre nasanay na sila. But kung ikaw hindi ka nasanay, as in, the struggle is real. Pero depende naman yun siya sa products kasi there are products na that maka-withstand naman ng high temperature. Kaya lang most of our products kailangan hindi talaga siya mag-exceed ng 30 degrees Celsius. So if you look at the labels of our pharmaceutical products, makikita nyo dyan na, di ba, you have to store the product sa area na away from direct sunlight, and at the same time, the temperature should not exceed 30 degrees Celsius. Okay, now aside from testing the product, whether pumasok or nag-conform siya with the standards and specification, the QC department also controls the packaging components. So it's their work also to make sure that they use the correct packaging, kasi anything na hindi na makapareho sa original packaging, magiging ang tawag dyan, counterfeit drug na siya. So sa label pa lang, sa packaging pa lang, very strict na si QC department. Okay? Now, we also have 3 main areas of QC. So again, the QC department is just one area in the manufacturing firm, but it is also divided into 3 areas. So we have the RM, QC, IT, and the FP. RM means raw material quality control area. Syempre, they are responsible in receiving whatever raw material na pinurchase ng company, and they are also responsible in testing these raw materials. So they will just get little samples of these raw materials and subject them to different testings, whether papasa sila or hindi sa standards and specifications. So, yung mga sinasabi ko na standards and specifications, this actually pertains to the purity of the raw material, meron ba siyang contaminants or impurities, and mostly yon, most likely yun sa purity niya, and even sa identity kailangan talaga ma-establish. Even though the label says example paracetamol, they have to make sure before using that powder na maghimo sila og paracetamol na tablet. Before using that, they have to make sure that it is really paracetamol. Okay, aside from the purity. And then we also have the IPQC, or the in-process quality control area. So after testing the raw materials and then magkaroon na ng go signal na mag-start na maghimo og product or drug, pag-start na in-process na siya. So from the mixing of the different powders or the different raw materials para ma-form siya og tablet. So in-process na siya. Now, the in-process is also very crucial. They really have to follow the correct procedure here to make sure na tama ang ginagawa nila na product, good ang quality, and then syempre ang purity ng product natin. So baka magkaroon ng contamination during the process. So from time to time, example, sa isang araw nagmanufacture sila ng 1 million tablet of a certain drug. Now, during the process, kukuha sila ng sample, 10, 20 na mga tablets, and then isa-subject sa testing in the IPQC area. So ano yung mga testings na pwedeng gawin? They can do assay. Example, paracetamol yung tablet na ginagawa. They can do assay of the paracetamol. Itetest nila whether, di ba 500 milligrams yung paracetamol, itetest nila kung talaga bang 500 milligrams na paracetamol ang laman ng isang tablet. So pag hindi yan siya 500 milligrams, they have to redo the process kasi hindi talaga yun siya papasa, and they should not release the tablets sa market. Aside from that, aside from assaying, they can also do in-process testings like disintegration time. Isa-subject nila sa disintegration test yung tablet, whether magdi-disintegrate ba siya talaga or hindi. Kasi kung hindi siya mag-disintegrate, alangan pag inom tablet, pag pupo sa patient na to, tablet gihapon siya. So that's just part of the IPQC. Maraming ginagawa na testing. And then once na pumasa na lahat ng yung isang batch ng production sa IPQC testings, then we have the FPQC, or the finished product quality control. So when you say finished product, tapos na lahat ng processes, as in finished na, ready to release the product to the market. Even yung kanyang packaging, okay na, nakalagay na siya sa blister pack, or kung whatever packaging ang gagamitin. So again, kukuha na naman sila ng another sample for that and do the testings again, required for the finished product. So maraming test ang ginagawa sa QC. If sa QA department, maraming paperworks because of the procedures or because of the processes involved in making the products. Sa QC, maraming experimentation na ginagawa. And mostly, you can find the pharmacist in the manufacturing firm here in the QC department together with like mga chemist. So dito yung area na mostly makikita natin si pharmacist. Sa production area, you seldom see, iba yung production area ha, so that is where you can see the different machines and the people involved in the production. Seldom lang natin makikita si pharmacist sa production area. If makikita man natin siya doon, siguro nagra-rounds lang, nagsusupervise. Pero yung like hands-on na yung pharmacist talaga ang gagawa ng certain dosage form for a certain drug, we seldom see that in the manufacturing company. Okay, so those are the two areas na nasa manufacturing firm natin, the QA and the QC. So this is not just for pharmaceutical or drug products. How included dito si cosmetics. So we have here pharmaceutical and cosmetic manufacturing. All manufacturing firms na nagma-manufacture ng ganitong mga products are required to comply with the CGMP or the current good manufacturing practices. So ano yan siya, high standard na mga protocols. So it is actually written in our Philippine law. Nasa Administrative Order number 220 series of 1974 yan siya. Yan yung CGMP natin na they really need to follow this high standard or high quality procedure to produce also high standard products. So isa sa nakalagay dyan sa CGMP is for the manufacturing firm to have their own organizational chart or structure. That is to avoid conflict and that all the people involved in the production know kung ano yung kanilang job description, ano yung kanilang responsibilities. So in recent years, ang quality assurance they used to describe the overall organizational body designed to assure product quality. So remember that quality assurance is a process-based approach and that it will start before manufacturing the product. So dun pa lang sa pag-identify that sa mga key persons na mai-involve sa production, responsibility na yan ni QA team. Okay? So potential benefits derived from a QC system. Every manufacturing firm has this QC system class. They really have to follow this. Merong mga benefits ito. Syempre, the first one, if we follow quality control system, it will avoid or eliminate the risk of releasing in the market yung mga unsafe products. Nagiging unsafe siya maybe because of contamination kasi hindi nag-follow ng tamang process, hindi nag-follow ng CGMP. Pwede din maging unsafe siya because there is product degradation or product destruction because of like problem with the environmental condition or handling of the product. So ayun, pag sumunod tayo sa lahat ng protocol sa QC natin, talagang ma-minimize or ma-eliminate yung risk of marketing unsafe products. And then, guarantees conformance to regulatory requirement. So yung Food and Drug Administration, again natin, yung set ng ating standards and specifications. And we have to make sure that we follow these standards and specifications so that we can be issued with product registration or product certification. And we will not have any problem with the government. Okay, kung maka-violate syempre may mga corresponding yan siya na consequences. And then, syempre, guarantees product efficacy. And then reduce operating cost or losses. Because for example, may nakalabas na unsafe product and for example, nagkaroon ng harm sa patient, that will entail cost sa manufacturing firm. And if for example, hindi nag-follow ng correct procedure or QC system, pagka-test sa in-process product, hindi pala siya of good quality, then uulit sa first. So that also entails cost kung magbaback to zero sila in the manufacture of the product. And this also produces higher employee morale kasi they will be encouraged to do good in their work and makikita nila na their finished product is of good quality. So Siyempre, ganahan sila magtrabaho. Next, motivates pharmaceutical or medical professions to sell or prescribe the product. So, kung makita nato na siya, na that certain company has its own QC system, magkakaroon ng trust ang public for the product. Okay? Sige. So, kanina ko pa binabanggit, again, si standards and specifications. These are actually basis sa pag-accept or pag-reject ng product natin. Nasabi ko kanina, these are set by the Food and Drug Administration, but actually the Food and Drug Administration has their own reference for this. So it might be the pharmacopoeias, United States Pharmacopoeia or the National Formulary or the British Pharmacopoeia, whatever is their reference in setting the standards and specifications in accepting or rejecting our product. So, ang product natin must cover the following points. If you look at the label class, meron talaga yan siyang formula. Pag sinabing formula sa drug product, it is the statement of ingredients. So, you can see there the list of the ingredients of that certain drug product as well as the percentage or even the weight. Depende kung gaano karami yung ingredient na yan na inad doon sa product. And then raw material specification, so purity of our ingredient. Though we cannot see this in the label, the manufacturing firm has to establish this one. Remember, we have the RMQC, Raw Material Quality Control Area, wherein when they receive the raw material, kung asa man nila to purchase, they have to do testing also of the raw materials for purity. So they have to state whether pure ba na raw mat ang ilang gigamit or hindi. And then SOP, the standard operating procedure. That is the step-by-step method that we use in the production of our pharmaceutical product. So all the instructions, pura lang og nag-experiment ka, when you look at the laboratory manual, you can see there the experimental procedure. That's the SOP. So they have that in the manufacturing company. Now, for the finished product specifications, di ba, I told you kanina, the third area for the QC is the FPQC, the finished product quality control area, na as in na package na yung drug, but then we still get samples to really see to it that our finished product is of good quality when it comes to purity, walang mga contaminants, efficacy also, and even stability. So they also do stability testing for our finished product. Ginagawa talaga nila yan, and that is also used to estimate the shelf life of the product. So kung napapansin nyo, alam nila kung kailan yung expiration date ng mga pharmaceutical products natin. That is actually a product of QC testing. They do stability testing. Nakikita nila dyan kung hanggang kailan lang pwedeng gamitin yung product natin. And even the efficacy also, they have their way of testing the efficacy of these products, pharmaceutical products. For packaging material standard, they do audit and checking of the bottles, the cans, and even the labels. And then for the testing methods, hindi pwede na yung firm lang yung magde-design ng testing method nila. Siyempre meron tayong references. So meron tayong references, and doon sa references, doon nakalagay yung mga standards. So we just, the manufacturing firm should use validated methods para ma-ensure ang precision and accuracy ng application. Okay? Okay, so for the classification of analysis, meron tayong different types. Una, based on the sample size. Kasi 'di ba, sabi ko, for example, mag-manufacture ng 1 million tablet in a day. So hindi naman yun lahat is subject to testing. Kukuha lang sila ng sample. So if ever the sample na kinuha is less than 1 milligram, then we call it ultramicro analysis or ultramicro assay. Pag magpass na siya ng 1 milligram, 1 milligram to 10 milligrams, that's micro. 10 milligrams to 100 milligrams, semi-micro, and 100 milligrams to 1 gram or even more pa, that is now called macro analysis or macro assay. So again, this one is based on the sample size. Now, meron din tayong classification that is based on the extent of determination. So kung ano yung ating goal na ma-identify or makuha when we do the analysis. Yun yung classification. So pag proximate ang tawag if total amount of class or group of active plant principles in a given sample is being identified. I don't know, I think, I'm not sure. I don't know if you are done with your pharmacognosy subject with Ma'am MJ. But meron tayong mga phytochemicals, diba? We call them phytochemicals. These are chemicals found in our plant. And these phytochemicals are actually being isolated. And yun yung ginagawa natin na gamot. Okay, most of our drugs kasi galing, diba, sa plants. Now, meron tayong phytochemicals. So kapag ang gusto lang nating makuha is yung total amount ng isang class ng phytochemical, ang tawag dyan, proximate. So, for example, ano ba yung mga, let me write sa screen. For example, ano ba yung mga phytochemical natin? So, we have the alkaloids. So, yan, ang alkaloid ay isang class or group of active plant principle. So pag nag-assay tayo tapos ang kinuha lang natin is total amount of alkaloids, proximate analysis ang tawag dyan. Pero if we really specify, kailangan talaga natin i-single out anong species, anong type ng alkaloid yung gusto nating ma-determine, ang tawag na dyan ay ultimate. So again pag group or the class of the phytochemical, we call it proximate, kagaya ng alkaloids. Pero ang isang example ng alkaloids class is yung caffeine. Diba? Galing sa Coffea arabica or Coffea robusta, yung nasa coffee natin. Again, si caffeine is an alkaloid. Under yan siya sa alkaloid. Isang specific na alkaloid yan siya. So pag yan yung kinuha natin, yan yung tinest or tiningnan natin kung gaano siya karami, ang tawag sa analysis is ultimate. Kasi nag-single out talaga tayo ng chemical species na present or might be present in our sample. Okay? So ikalawang classification na yun siya. Now, ikatatlong classification ng ating analysis is based on the nature of method. So, depende kung anong test ang gagawin natin for a certain pharmaceutical product. Meron tayong tinatawag na classical assay or classical analysis. We also call it general or chemical assay or analysis. Example dyan, yung titrimetric analysis where we do titration. I just don't know if you have done this in the laboratory though, but as well as gravimetric analysis. But ito yung mga analysis that use chemicals also, chemical substances to analyze our drug product. So, for example, sa titration, if we want to know the concentration of our drug product, we can do titration. Imimix natin siya with another chemical substance that will give us a sharp change in the color that will be used to sharp endpoint or yung change in color that will give us an idea kung ano again ang concentration ng ating sample. So kapag gumamit ng chemical substance, classical. Pero if we use different machine or instrument in the laboratory, in the assay, yan yung tinatawag natin na instrumentation analysis or instrumentation assay class. So for example, we do spectrophotometry using the spectrophotometer. Ayan, instrumentation yan siya. Again, ang classical, if gumamit tayo ng chemical substance sa pag-assay, instrumentation kung gumamit tayo ng different equipment to ascertain the physical or chemical properties of our drug product. And then we also have miscellaneous and specific methods. This involves crude drugs and natural products derived from them. Do not worry kasi introduction pa lang naman ito. So i-introduce ko lang sa inyo yung mga possible topic that we are going to discuss sa QC. So isahin natin yung mga topics na yan. So isahin natin from the titration, gravimetry, spectrophotometry, polarimetry, chromatography. Although itong may instrumentation na process, more on the QC2 pa ito. Itong classical and miscellaneous, madidiscuss siya sa QC1. So sa miscellaneous or specific method, it's more on the crude drug, yung mga natural products natin. Like we want to know the water content of our plant material, or we want to know the ash content or the acid value of our plant material. Okay? And then, that's based on the nature of method kung anong ginawa natin to assay or analyze our sample. Now, we also have based on materials used. Depende kung ano yung ginamit natin. Siyempre, chemical, if we use chemical reagents to ascertain the identity or even the quantity of a certain material in our drug product. And physical, if we do if we use instruments or special apparatus. And biological, if we use microorganisms or animals. So actually in your research, we can classify actually your research here, like those who will be using microorganisms to test the activity of the plant material or magagamit ng laboratory animals, under kayo sa biological analysis or biological assay. Pero if gagamitin nyo lang is an instrument or a machine, like if you want to know the lead content of a certain cosmetic product, ilalagay mo lang kasi siya sa AAS na atomic absorption spectrophotometer, that's a machine, and then bibigay niya na kasi yung amount ng lead. So physical analysis yan siya. At if ever there are studies na gagamit talaga ng chemical substances or chemical reagents for the test, under siya syempre sa chemical analysis or assay. Okay? So those are the classification of analysis that we are going to study in QC1. Now, methods of analysis in quantitative pharmaceutical chemistry. QC pa rin, quantitative pharmaceutical chemistry. We have the so-called volumetric analysis. We do volumetric analysis through titration if we want to know the concentration of our sample. Take note, para dili kaayo daghan ng isulod sa brain cells. Pag volumetric analysis, what we want to know is the concentration of our sample. Okay? And then, physicochemical method. So this is syempre from the name itself. What we want to ascertain here is the physical or the chemical property of our substance being analyzed. And most of the time, we do physicochemical analysis using instruments. So like chromatography, spectrophotometry, refractometry, and polarimetry. So we will have that sa QC2 though, kasi yung mga Itong physico-chemical method sa QC2 pa siya nabilong. Okay? And then, gravimetric analysis naman is actually more, kung sa volumetric analysis, concentration ang hinahanap natin. Sa gravimetric analysis naman, sa kahaba-haba ng kanyang definition, ang hinahanap talaga natin here is the weight of the substance. The concentration is different from weight. So the mass or the weight of the substance, yung hinahanap natin for gravimetric analysis. Kasi remember, our drug product is a mixture. Meron ka dyang active ingredient, and then meron kang pharmaceutical excipient. You learned that one in your DDS or even in your manuf. No, you are taking manuf, no? Pero anyway, pag drug product, for example, paracetamol tablet, hindi naman buong tablet paracetamol lang yan lahat. Meron yang mga tinatawag na pharmaceutical excipients. So if you want to know the mass of the paracetamol in that tablet, then we can perform gravimetric analysis. Example lang yun, ha? And then we have special methods, which are experimental procedures that do not belong to the gravimetric analysis, physicochemical, or volumetric analysis. So this one is a separate one. It's a distinct type of technique that we do to test our pharmaceutical products. So mostly we do this sa mga phytochemicals natin coming from plants, like alkaloidal assaying. Okay, so that's it for the introduction for QC1. We will have a quiz next meeting, so make sure na natapos niyo talaga ito. I will be having the quiz first thing in the afternoon next week, and then we will continue with the next chapter.